Talk, the Geekbox Forums community podcast. This is episode 5 for the week of March 5th, 2012. On this week, we talk about anime, childhood gaming memories, and our final thoughts on the Netflix original series, Lilyhammer. Hello, I am Dakazu from the forums, and this is episode 5 for the week of March 5th. Who is with me right now?
Hey, this is Kenzo.
Ratsu.
And Totoro.
Guys, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Yay!
I don't care.
Of course you don't.
What, you're 38 again?
Yes, I'm 38 again. No, I'm actually gonna... I've turned 31.
Hey, don't feel too bad. I'm already there.
But, yeah, happy birthday to me. And because it's my birthday, I get to do what I want, which means I get to have Kenzo and Ransu here. Yay, me! Kenzo.
Yep.
I've wanted you on this podcast for a while now. Now you have agreed to do this. Thank you.
This is the worst. Let's go.
Ransu.
I'd rather be playing Star Wars.
Of course you would. Thank you both from the bottom of my heart.
No problem. So what's on the agenda?
We're gonna talk anime because I do what I want. And we're not just talking about all sorts of anime because the topic is way too broad. Specifically, we're gonna start talking about Cowboy Bebop because Totoro has finally finished the series. He has not seen it, and Kenzo, you recommended it to him, and he's been watching, and he's done. So we're going to talk about that first. Totoro, take it away.
Okay, well, I mean, this is, I'm kind of very much a newcomer, not kind of, very much a newcomer to the kind of, episodic, serialized TV anime. I've seen like a handful of movies here and there, but, nothing that I would really say that I've been, exposed quite a bit to it. But, so yeah, Kenzo and Dakazu both recommended that I watch Cowboy Bebop, and so I did. And
Cowboy Bebop tends to be the anime that most people recommend to starters of anime.
It's a good starting point.
I think so too. I'm sorry, continue,
Yeah.
Totoro.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and there were definitely, I think that with any series of anything, there are going to be episodes you like, there are going to be episodes you don't like, and that was definitely the case with Cowboy Bebop for me. And
Hello.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just I'm trying to think because I pretty much mainline marathoned a whole bunch of these last night, kind of in preparation. So
Yeah, you're a trooper, man.
well, I watched them all pretty much over the course of just about a month. But it's just I'm trying to think of something to say about it. It's good. Overall, overall, I liked it. Overall, it was really a great deal of fun, and I'm anxious to take on something else as well.
Let's talk about one of the main things that a lot of people like about this show, which is the music.
Right. Yeah. For me, the music was almost. It was like an extra, cast member. It was an extra character, and just always kind of there in the background. It's not the greatest music in the world, but for a television show, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's they take great pains to kind of like emulate other types of music. So it's like you said, it's not very original, but it's very well produced, and more so than that, it's very well utilized in the actual episode. That's one of the things I always was most impressed by. Like
each episode is named after type of music anyway, and they match the music with the title.
Yeah, or a song in the case of something like "Toys in the Attic" or "Sympathy for the Devil."
Right. Which is Sympathy for the Devil, which is one of your favorite episodes.
Yeah, I really liked that one. Trying to think of what some other ones that I really liked. "Toys in the Attic" was pretty good as well.
Which one was that?
It's kind of a little trippy. It's the one with where it's all the where they all get bit by the creature.
It's
that-
the
Oh,
Alien
yeah.
yeah,
parody.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a play on Alien. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, the show a lot of the episodes follow different themes and different almost different genres, which is a really interesting thing about that show. Like you might have an action episode, and then you have a comedy episode, and then you have a thriller episode.
Right. Well, and to me, kind of this, in my opinion, the episodes were at their best when it was kind of fun and whimsical and not, too brooding.
Oh no, you're gonna hate the movie then.
Well, it's like, take something like, Mushroom Samba, which may actually be my favorite episode when it's all said and done. It's just, that one just, I felt like I had a smile on my face the whole time I watched it.
That's the psychedelic episode with a bunch of like blaxploitation
Yeah,
references,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, and where they're chasing the guy who has who's selling illegal mushrooms. But yeah, it's just like I said. It's to me that's when the series is at its best, when it's not really even taking itself too seriously.
I actually kind of enjoyed some of the more brooding moments, but just because it offered like a different change of pace. Like you don't ever feel like you're getting bored watching the show because you see the same thing over and over again. Like any given episode has something completely new from the previous one you just saw.
Right.
The Piero one is one of my favorite episodes, mainly because it's so different.
Oh, that's as brooding as it gets.
Yep.
Well, and how. Yeah. Well, and I think maybe the ones that put me off the most are the two-part episodes. And I kind of felt like they were just kind of stretched out a little bit too much.
You're talking about in the middle, Jupiter Jazz, and then the finale.
Yeah, and then the finale, the Roll Folk Blues.
Oh, you were gonna hate the movie then.
Because it was just I don't know. Those were because I think I when I was going through and I was watching them, I really got stalled out when I hit Jupiter Jazz. I had a little bit of trouble kind of making my way through that, and once I finished it, I took a little bit of a break until yesterday, which I knew that we were going to be recording this segment, so it was like just okay, make my way through as much of this as possible, and actually spent quite a bit of time last night, making my way through most of the rest of the series.
See, that's funny because Kenzo, didn't you say Jupiter Jazz is like your favorite?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on what it is that I didn't like about Jupiter Jazz. It just didn't. I don't know.
Slow. It's slow, and it doesn't like all the other episodes move by at such like a brisk clip.
Yeah.
And that one, yeah, it's definitely a bit more drawn out. But I mean, I enjoyed it. It really did a really good job of setting a pace for itself in terms of like the mood and the setting is very well developed. Like you really got a feeling that like this moon that they were on was just, how do you say, it's like really oppressive and a shitty place to be, and like the dump of the solar system.
Right.
Should we speaking of which, should we explain a little bit about like what Cowboy Bebop is?
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, Kenzo, why don't you go ahead and explain the?
Oh no.
You want me to?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. In case you haven't heard of Cowboy Bebop, Cowboy Bebop is a show about these bounty hunters in space. Basically, think Firefly.
It's exactly Firefly.
Yeah, which is the basic premise. And like we explained, like each episode has different themes, and some of the episodes will get into the backstory of like the four main characters. But the show is interesting because of, like we said, the music, and like every episode has a different theme. And it's 26 episodes long. It's one full season, and it wraps itself up very nicely.
And if it wasn't abundantly clear already by what we've been saying, like one of the reasons why I wanted Totoro to watch this is because it's really easy for like, especially Westerners to get into, because it's just filled with all sorts of tropes and references to like American culture and American things, and it feels like if you watch this and you watched a dub, you wouldn't have any guess that say this was from Japan, right? That this was an anime.
No. No, I mean, other than, kind of the handful of times in the background where, you can see kanji. But then at the same time, remember looking through a few different things and seeing, like, German popping up somewhere too. So from that point of view, it's extremely, kind of.
Very multicultural.
Exactly.
There's
That's
not
what
a
I was
lot
looking
of
for.
there's not a lot of culture shock. Like it's some animes are gonna have like Japanese school settings, and people are gonna be like, "Huh?" about all like the cultural differences
Yeah, exactly.
that like happen from that, but not in this show.
So it's a very easy one to get into, and I always like telling people new to anime in general, like this is the kind of show you should start out with.
When did you guys all? Totoro just saw the show, but how about you two? Did you, Kenzo, Ransu? Did you guys? When did you guys see the show? Did you see it on Comedy Central or on Cartoon Network or whatever?
I saw it on Cartoon Network.
I think I downloaded like fan subs of it before it came out, like right before it came out on Cartoon Network. And then once it started showing up on Cartoon Network, then that would be like my thing every night to watch.
When was it on Cartoon Network?
When Adult Swim first started airing.
It was like it was the reason why Adult Swim basically came about. Really, it was one of the core programs in the beginning. It was 2001, I think. Right, right in the middle of 9/11, actually, which is a funny anecdote.
Oh, which affected like
It affected.
one of the episodes was canceled and was not shown.
Yeah, for years, one of the episodes wasn't ever shown on
Waltz
TV.
for Venus.
They eventually did air it, but during that timeline, yes, they did not air that episode.
Well, in the beginning of the episode, it has a terrorist basically bombed, two skyscrapers that look a lot like the Twin Towers.
Yep. But that episode also has the best character in the series, Andy.
Yeah.
Andy is great.
I wouldn't say great, but it was a good foil for the main character.
I love Andy. My favorite character, definitely, easily.
I don't know about that.
Well, you have a different favorite character?
I don't know that I have another favorite character, but I don't know. I just found him to be very off-putting, and I was like, even when it got to the end, I probably laughed at him more, like, when it got to the end, and he decided he was the samurai.
Well, he's supposed to be off-putting. He's basically kind of a mirror reflection of the main character, Spike. Like, Spike is not a nice guy, or he's not really likable either if you met him in person, but you watch him, he's like, oh, that guy's a badass, so you like him,
Right. Well, I mean...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, even, as far as, like, even the main crew goes, I definitely find that I gravitate more towards Ed and Ein as far as, who I like to see, kind of even around the Bebop and everything. It's just, I don't know why, but my eyes kind of gravitate towards them because it's just like they can be doing some of the most absurd things sometimes.
They're usually the most like cartoonish characters. Like they'll have the most exaggerated, faces and emotions and stuff. So yeah, they're a little more fun. But
everyone likes Ein.
Ein is awesome.
Ein is the dog. There's a dog in the show, and he's basically around for comic value.
So is Ed.
They make a good pair. That'll probably be your favorite part of the movie. They have a couple scenes where they're doing their thing.
Right.
But in general, you enjoyed the show?
Yeah. Take it as a whole, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and, I would actually like to see something moving forward. If they were to do anything else, I would definitely like to see something that explores more of the backstory of either Jet or Faye. That's
what the movie is, kind of. It doesn't really explore their backstories, but it gets into like their personal psychologies. Like you see a lot of them deal with stuff, but you never really see them talk about their emotions to each other. So like that's kind of what the movie is about. But that's all you'll ever get.
I don't remember the movie too much. Do you guys have a favorite episode? Totoro said his was Mushroom Samba. Mine is the Venus one. Is it Venus Waltz or something?
Waltz for Venus.
Yeah, Waltz for Venus.
What was that one about?
That's the one where Spike befriends like a thug on Venus who's trying to help his sister.
Oh right, and the Bruce Lee impersonation that he does there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Ryan? So,
What about you?
To be honest, it's been so long since I've seen that anime. I don't really know. I remember parts of the show, and like you mentioned an episode, I'll remember it, but I don't really have a favorite episode.
anything after all this time that sticks out as a good memory or a bad memory?
I don't know. Probably the teddy bear bomber because it was just so random, and Andy was hilarious, and he walked into a building with a horse. Come on.
And Kenzo?
Jupiter
Jupiter
Jazz.
Jazz. Yeah, okay.
Well,
All right.
I just wanted to get in a little bit. Totoro, there's the movie after this, and
Right.
you probably won't enjoy that. But the director who did this this episode, this series, has worked together along with the music director in a couple of other shows. So we can put those in the show notes. One of them is a short 4-episode series called Macross Plus. The director also, he didn't work with this person, but he made a show called Samurai Champloo, which is very similar in structure, but instead of like a troupe of like misfits going through outer space, they're going through like feudal Japan. And you'll enjoy that one too if you enjoyed this show. And
Okay, is that kind of where you? I guess one of the things that going into this that I kind of wanted to take out of it was, okay, this has been my first real exposure to the episodic anime kind of medium. Where would you suggest going from here?
Wait, let's bring up something that I just finished. We're gonna move away from Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Let's talk about Tatami Galaxy.
uh,
I think you should watch that.
are
next.
you sure? That's really dense.
But it's so good, and it's only 11 episodes
Remember
long.
when I had to like force you to watch that show though?
Yes. But let me explain. Tatami Galaxy is the premise is there is a university student who's going through his 3 years of university, and things always don't work out the way he wants them to, and then like at the end of every episode, time rewinds. So it's kind of like a groundhog, but for his life during his time during at the university. And the cool thing about that show is as you watch the show, you learn more and more about the different characters that he meets in the different situations and different versions of his university life. They will reappear. And the problem was when I was watching the show, it's a kind of a slow burn. I would say episode 4 is when you start realizing some things that really help like you push forward, and then 6 to 8 are just amazing. And by the time you get to 11, like it's really done an amazing thing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to speak in general terms because I don't want any spoilers either. And I know that's why you're being silent.
Well, I mean, that was a problem when I was trying to get you to watch a show because you were like, I don't know if I want to keep watching this. The show is weird. Like, I don't know where it's going. Like,
yeah, but you're
frustrated
said
with the main
you
character.
wanted. Yeah, you said you didn't want to tell me because you wanted me to be appreciate it for what it was. But I feel like if you told me, if you gave me a little bit more, I would have been more inclined. Because I watched up to episode 3, and then I took a very long break, a couple, like almost like 3-4 months before I just recently picked it back up and finished it. But I would say that as you watch the show, you will learn about the different characters. In fact, some like almost all the side characters start getting fleshed out with each episode, and you learn more about them, which is what makes the show cool. And I didn't realize this till episode 4, and I think that's all I'll say about that show. But it's really good, and it's only 11 episodes long, and it has amazing art, and the style of it is really amazing. Good animation by Madhouse Studios as well. I highly recommend it.
It's a really unconventional show. It's if you watch it, you're not really gonna find a lot of things like it in terms of just like in anime or anywhere else. So like it's hard to really have like a way to explain it in terms of comparing it to other things.
Yeah, and if you talk too much about it, you're gonna ruin it.
And another thing, like I feel like I have to warn people, like this is a good show for you, Dakazu, because like you've seen a lot of anime, you know Japanese, so like you're not gonna be as put off by certain things, but it's a very Japanese show with a lot of cultural references, and
Yeah.
And the main character also narrates for the show, and he narrates really really fast, and that can be kind of like hard for people to jump into in the beginning. But
Yeah, and when I saw it, I saw the subtitled version that's on Hulu Plus. It's the entire series is on Hulu Plus if you have that.
it's also on it was on YouTube last I looked.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. I think the things that you're saying are valid though. It may have been like better for me, but and now that I've seen it and now that like I understand how good it is and how amazing it is, then like I do want more people to see it. Plus it's short.
It's
Yeah.
how do I put this? The total brain fart. Whatever, let's move on.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just as we move away from Tatami Galaxy, I would say check it out. It's really good. It is a slow burn, but it's totally worth
It's
it.
a super artsy, ritzy kind of show, the two. So like if you like those kind of things or whatever, then like this is right up your alley.
Do we want to move on to Tiger and Bunny?
Sure. That's another show that only you and me have seen.
But this is a show that I think a lot of people might be interested in watching. Because it is basically all about superheroes.
It's basically a Japanese take on American comics for the most part. And because of that, and because it uses a lot of like similar tropes from like American comics, it's going to be like a lot like Cowboy Bebop. It's going to be a lot easier for people unaccustomed to anime to jump into.
And unlike Tatami Galaxy, this is just like a fun show.
Well, there's some serious points, but yeah, they play up the jokes a lot.
Yeah, it's like basically like think it's like a popcorn show. It's fun. It does some really interesting thing with characters because the characters are basically
Yeah, explain the premise.
well, the premise is like there are all these superheroes, and in this world, they defend this city, and they're televised in a TV program, and they have like corporate sponsorships. So like on their costumes, they have like corporate logos like Pepsi Next and like Amazon and stuff like that. It's really
I
funny.
like to liken it to like what if the Justice League was set in kind of like in a future setting and was full of corporate sponsors and then like always being followed with cameras.
Yeah, it's like basically they set up a reality TV contest for the superheroes, and they get points depending on like the people that they save and the criminals that they bust. And it's funny because some of the heroes are direct like they're basically like rip-offs of American superhero types. Like there is a Superman in that show, and it's really funny.
Well, he's kind of an exaggeration,
Because
but yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's just funny because he's called the king of superheroes. He has like a power that makes him really powerful.
His main feature is that he flies.
Yeah, and then he controls the wind. He's called Sky High. But it's just funny because he's super strong. He's called the king of superheroes. He's a total Boy Scout, and he's dense as a
And he's
brick.
bad with women.
Yes. So basically they're like totally like taking the Superman character and like kind of like playing it up. And then the one of the main characters is Batman.
Basically.
Yeah, like his parents were killed and he's like fighting for revenge. And he's like super calculating and
super
like,
emo about it.
Smart. Yeah,
and
yeah,
initially he wants nothing to do with the other heroes. And he's like, I can do this by myself.
Yeah, he's totally Batman.
So in this world, do they have like alter egos, or are they just always on, and they're always
actually, that's kind of an interesting point because every single hero on the show does have an alter ego except for one of the main characters. The Batman character,
one.
He decides to start fighting crime under his actual name because what was the reason why he wanted to like draw attention to the fact? He basically he wanted to draw out his murderer.
He was trying
right?
to draw attention to his
parents' murderer.
Because unlike in a Batman, like the murder of his parents is uncaught and like it's all shrouded in mystery. So he's trying to find out.
So I thought that was actually kind of an interesting like take on things because you don't usually see that very often.
But yeah, it's just it's a fun show. It's well done. It does a lot of commentary on American comics.
And it's pretty painfully obvious too, like that this was their intention. Like at one point, there's a I don't want to put too much spoiler, but there's a scene that's very reminiscent of The Dark Knight, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there's all sorts of like little tiny details too that are painfully obvious, like callbacks to comics. So like all the cabs in the city, they have like the DC, like straight up the old DC Star logo, bullet logo.
Yep.
On the side of the cars.
Oh wow.
So I think if you enjoy American comics and you enjoy, you know, superhero stuff in general, that you'll get a kick out of the show.
You might even pick up on more American comic stuff, because I don't read American comics.
And they're actually pretty smart about it too. Instead of just like, here's our take on it, they manage to do little like both like celebrate comics at the same time as like, you know, comment on them and kind of deconstruct some of the stereotypes.
Yeah, that's basically that about Tiger and Bunny. You can see the show on Hulu Plus.
You can see it on normal Hulu too if you
So
watch it in a web browser.
it seems like there's a lot of stuff on Hulu and Hulu Plus.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at that yesterday, and there is a lot of anime on there. I'm really surprised.
Is there a content provider that's putting that stuff
Well,
up?
yeah,
Or...
a couple of the really big American localization companies have basically these days just putting every single show up there as fast as they can. Like some of them day and date with their broadcasts in Japanese televisions. So
Oh, no kidding.
Though I would say, Ronsu, what's that website that you like?
Crunchyroll?
Yeah, that one does a better job if you're just looking for straight anime day and date. They put their episodes up almost immediately, right, Ronsu?
They're released an hour after they air in Japan.
Yeah. That's probably your best site if you're like really into anime and if you don't know about Crunchyroll. But if you have Hulu Plus, check out their animated cartoon section. They have a lot of stuff up there. I was really surprised.
For this other website, is it subtitled?
It's all
Is
subtitled.
it dubbed? How is it? It's all subtitled. Okay.
A lot.
I just want to make sure that there was some form of localization there. Otherwise, sending people to something that may not be localized at all might.
oh no, you don't have to worry about that. This is basically
Okay.
Crunchyroll, if I'm not mistaken, basically started up as a way to monetize everyone who was like downloading fan subs, right? 'Cause there's a big like gray market like around here of people who will download like episodes of an anime and that are subtitled by fan groups.
Crunchyroll was picked up because they were originally fan sub. They were a group of fan subbers, and they eventually struck a deal with multiple producers in Japan, and that's how they came to be a legit site. So they have full blown deals with these Japanese companies. They get the film an hour, or they get the film around the same time it airs in Japan. They're given enough time to subtitle it, and it goes up an hour after it airs. And
Now
it's a really good service.
I
and I'm
know
willing to
that
pay
there's
for
a
it.
pay structure, but I know you can watch a lot of that free. So do you know like the specifics of that?
It's just like Hulu. If you don't pay for it, well, for one, you get content a week later. So like tomorrow morning when Naruto airs, for example, people that are free will get to watch the episode that aired last week. And also they have the commercial thing, like the little diamond thing with Hulu. So every time you get to the diamond, it airs a commercial.
I know other people on the forums that watch anime like Konanda are really big fans of that as well. It's definitely worth looking into.
It's not expensive. It's like $6 a month.
That sounds the same as
and
Hulu
there's-
Plus.
Yeah,
I
and there's
think,
tons of anime on there.
yeah, I think Hulu is like $7.99 or something, which is also the same as just the unlimited Netflix instant streaming. So
Mm-hmm.
that's at least, you know, even if you were to sign up for all three, you wouldn't be breaking the bank.
Well, before we go, I want to talk really briefly about the next show that I just started,
Yeah.
Star Driver. What the fuck is up with that show?
I told you, it starts out weird, but it gets good.
Weird doesn't even begin to describe the first episode. Nothing is explained, and then just everything happens.
So awesome.
I I almost didn't continue watching that show because that first episode was just beyond weird.
It is so fucking out there. Shit happens and none of it is explained. I assume it's gonna be explained later from what you guys are saying.
It is. It all is explained. But let's talk a little bit about what this is. So this show is basically a giant fighting robots show, but its twist that it puts on is that it kind of mixes all those archetypes with shit like school life and Sailor Moon kind of tropes.
And Sentai shows, the Power Ranger type shows.
The main
as well.
character calls himself a galactic pretty boy.
Yeah, Galactic was a Ginga Bishonen.
But yeah, that translates to galactic pretty boy, and it's really weird. And if you can get past like the initial weirdness, it starts to grow on you. Very entertaining.
I'm gonna stick with it just because both of you have said yes, but man, that fucking first episode.
It's gonna get even weirder before it starts making sense. But just stick with it, man.
I should expect nothing less from Bones, the same company, the same production company that came up with Eureka 7, which, by the way, that's getting a sequel.
Yeah, it is. I don't really have anything much to say about that.
Thoughts, Ransu?
About the new Eureka?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything in animation, and I only read the first chapter of the manga, so I can't really comment.
Yeah, they're putting out a manga as well, but I don't know. I look back at Eureka 7 now, but I can't remember much about it. I remember enjoying most of it. Some things were very strange about it. Like, it's weird. It's like I've almost blocked it out of my memory.
It's a very by the numbers like super robot show. A lot like Gundam. You have this, plucky kid who gets thrust into an insane situation. He's forced to fight, using this giant fighting robot. And
he's a little special because he has special ties, or he has a special ability, mainly from his parents, from what I remember.
Just like all of those kind of shows.
Mm-hmm.
But the big kick here is that
you said the pacing was bad.
It goes back and forth.
When I look back, yeah.
The big difference with this show with a bunch of other ones like Gundam is these robots surf in the sky on surfboards.
It sounds so stupid when you put it
right?
that way. It really does sound stupid. Surfing robots and weird girls, and I don't know. I remember enjoying this series when I saw it, and then, like I said, I blocked it from my memory.
That's not a good sign. I enjoyed it. It was okay, but it wasn't anything like really, really special. Like I wouldn't like all the shows we just talked about. I really enjoyed and would stick on my top whatever list. I wouldn't necessarily say that about Eureka 7. Eureka. Anyways,
I think we're gonna wrap up. We've been rambling on about this for a while. We, depending on interest, we may come back and talk about other anime. Maybe other classics like Akira, Neon Genesis, though I don't want to be on that discussion because I don't have much good things to say about that series.
It could be fun to just shit on that series too. Come on.
That would actually make me very happy, I think.
I've never even finished it.
See, that should say a lot.
Wait, really?
I think I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get.
I got about halfway through it, and I just kind of stopped. Didn't dislike it, but it wasn't enough to finish it.
Yeah, that show gets really weird. Not necessarily good in a good way.
Anyway, I'm gonna stick with Star Driver for now. I think we'll end up suggesting something else to Totoro. And yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Discuss on the forums. If you want another section like this or other anime that you want to talk about and stuff like that. And check out Tatami Galaxy, definitely. And Tiger and Bunny.
And everything we talked about.
Yes.
The real fun blues.
Okay, and now we are back to talk about childhood gaming memories. I am Mr. X, and with me are the following people.
Dakazu.
Fart Pants.
Rodney.
Totoro.
Please introduce yourself the right way, Kenzo.
Nope, he's fart pants.
So, Fort Pants, how are you today?
Kind of farty. So I hear we're going to talk about.
Oh my
Baby
god.
games.
Not necessarily baby games. It can just be gaming, I guess, related stories even. Just things that about gaming from your youth.
So when you were a baby.
I didn't play games when I was a baby. Couldn't hold a controller.
Well, yeah, I mentioned it on a previous podcast, but when I was growing up, I was only allowed to play video games once a month.
That still sounds crazy to me.
What would you
My-
play?
My father was really against video games, and that was his rule. He was like, you may not play video games during the week, you may not play them like when you want, you may only play for one weekend. So starting Friday night to Sunday night, I could play once a month along with my brother.
I'm
I
going
bet
to
you
go.
just sat in front of the TV.
And that's when you developed
Basically-
your cocaine habit.
Yeah, basically, it's probably the worst thing, because now I have to play video games every day to make
gonna
up
go-
for, like, that time.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that like none of us have it that bad, but we all kind of know where you're coming from. I certainly had my gaming habits scrutinized and limited. How about you guys?
Well, I mean, like, after homework,
Right.
I'd have to get, but nothing that serious like that.
Yeah, it was very much an after homework, if I had anything else going on that, my parents didn't want, like if we had to go out or something, or if I had to go to, Little League practice or whatever, I couldn't start anything up.
You had any
And,
time limitations like I did?
I didn't have any time limitations, but I definitely had, if my grades slipped in school, it was definitely, that was the first thing to go.
Well, I did a lot of my gaming like over at friends' house,
Yeah,
my
me
friends'
too.
houses. So I mean, my parents couldn't really regulate that.
My parents, basically, they were set against video games for a while, but as long as we played at someone else's house, they didn't mind. We
Why
just
is
couldn't
that?
have our own system.
Why didn't they mind? Why didn't they mind if you were at someone else's house?
Well, because then we could play for all hours, basically. So some of my early memories were playing the Atari 2600 at my cousin's house. Remember playing Frogger. California Games was really good.
I think I went over. There was like one snow day or something, and I went over to my friend's house and I played Super Mario Brothers 2 for the first time. That was the real game I ever really put any time into, and that's what got me into games. And then that Christmas, I got an NES. I was 7.
When I was growing up, basically, like I have vague kind of memories from the first house that we lived in, which I think we only lived in that house until I was about maybe 3 or 4. But I remember my dad he bought like a ColecoVision and an Atari 2600. I remember playing the ColecoVision quite a bit because the gamepad on that, or the paddle, is, I've never played anything quite like that since.
Yeah, but how often would you get games when you were a kid? Was it like a once a year at Christmas or like Christmas and your birthday type of thing?
Christmas and birthday.
Yep. Once a year.
Kind of. Well, it would depend on, like my grades and stuff. Like if I had an exceptionally bad run of grades, my parents would kind of bribe me a little bit to get my grades up.
Yeah, I had that. That's how I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
So, and then like once the Game Boy came out, I remember actually getting them more often than NES or SNES games.
That was my first system.
Was the Game Boy?
The Game Boy.
I didn't get a Game Boy
Game Boy.
until I was like 19 or something.
I got it
Okay.
with Kirby's Dream Land.
Well,
My
let's
first
run down
portable-
that.
what a game.
Sorry. My first portable was Neo Geo Pocket.
Damn.
I had a Game Gear when I was like 12 or something.
Yeah, I remember getting the original
Oh, man.
Game Boy.
I abhorred my Game Boy when I had it. But long story short, I saved like all my little pennies and like chore money along with my little brother in order to buy a Super Nintendo. And we finally saved up enough one day and we went to the store and we were all intent and excited on buying the Super Nintendo. It's like, oh man, we're gonna be able to play like Super Mario Brothers, it's gonna be great. And then once we got there, out of the blue, my little brother decided, I wanna buy a Game Boy. And so he took his cut of the money and bought a
Oh,
Game Boy.
damn.
Oh, fuck.
And I was like, wait, what is happening here? I thought we were buying the Super Nintendo. He's like, I'm buying a Game Boy. And then like
So you had to buy one too?
yeah, I was like, I was left without any games. Like, I guess I have to buy one too.
Were you crushed?
I was extreme. I missed out on that whole generation of gaming because of it.
That really, I feel for you.
Game Boy was pretty awesome though.
It was pretty awesome. So in retrospect, it wasn't all that bad, but at the
You
time,
got Tetris.
I hated my brother. I did not forgive him for years.
Did he share his games with you or not at all?
We were forced to share our games with each other, but I was an older brother, so I could kind of bully him into using them when I wanted.
Yeah, I was forced to share with my little brother too. My parents would try to buy multiplayer games only for that reason.
Yeah,
Oh,
good luck with that.
That's
Yeah,
probably why I never played like Zelda or Metroid when I was a kid.
I had to play Dragon Quest II with my brother.
Man,
Mind
playing
you,
RPGs.
and I only got to play like once a month, so it took us forever to beat that.
That would have to take you years.
Wow, once a month.
Yep.
That just
Like-
seems so bizarre.
Didn't you say it took you a couple years to beat one of those games? Dragon Age something or Dragon something Quest?
I know
Age.
Dragon Quest 3 took Dragon Quest 4 took forever. It took like a year and a half or something.
That is crazy. I mean, once you forget the story and what was going on from month to month.
Also, when
Let's
we
be
were playing Dragon Quest 3, we both had our own games. So that was
Oh,
even
man.
longer.
Oh, so then
I
you had
think
to
I gave
share.
up halfway through. Yeah.
You had to split the time between you.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it have made more sense to give your brother one weekend of the month and then you get another weekend of the month?
No.
Did
'Cause
that
then we-
eventually change?
No, it only changed until... It didn't change until I left for college.
Wow.
We need to have your dad on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
But like
The-
you guys were saying, like I would try to go over to my friend's house all the time and play video games over there.
Yeah, other than kind of, playing the stuff that my dad had bought, which was evidently, from listening to you guys, was kind of progressive of him to have that. But, one of the first things that I remember as far as like, the first system that I remember, I can say, okay, this, I saved up my money to buy this. This was mine, was the Atari 7800. Which was pre, NES.
You
How'd that
poor
work out for
fool.
you?
You poor
Oh, it
fool.
was-
Choice.
It was it was pretty cool because I had like pole position 2 and Karateka.
I have you beat though. For as far as like saving up for bad, would ultimately turn out to be a poor decision.
You bought a
I
Neo
saved
Geo.
I saved up all my money for a Jaguar CD.
Oh man.
Yeah, I heard this.
Yep, I saved up like all my babysitting money, and I stopped eating lunch at school and just saved all my lunch money, and then I got a
God.
Jaguar CD, and I played games like VidGrid, and it was great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're the saddest sack of all.
The Jaguar CD is shaped like a toilet.
Is that actually true?
Look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, it's shaped like a toilet.
I gotta look up a picture here.
Yeah, it was like the opposite of the Tower of Power from Sega.
And the thing is, those things were made so bad, they kind of stopped working after a few months. It was just bad. But I got my Jaguar originally because my friend got one, and I liked playing I think there's a game called Iron Soldier. It was like a big mech game. It was pretty awesome. And games like Club Drive and Kasumi Ninja, even though that game is terrible. But yeah, my friend got it, so I had to get one. And
Yeah.
it was good.
It seemed like me and all my friends, we all got the same stuff. It's like, yeah, we got the Nintendo, and then, we all got the Super Nintendo. But shortly after that, we moved away and a little bit further out into the country, so there wasn't as much time spending, with my friends playing games. And that was probably about the same time that I, stopped playing games until a little bit more into my high school years.
I
Oh,
didn't
was it
get
because...
my.
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Was it because you were mostly like a multiplayer person, playing with your friends?
Well, it was just for me. It was just almost a way to socialize with my friends. We would, sure, we would play, a lot of co-op stuff. We, when Street Fighter 2 came out for the Super Nintendo, we played that a lot. But we also played, stuff like Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, which are 4 and 6. Yeah, I know.
I have an angry memory about Final Fantasy 3, aka Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah, those were probably two of my favorite games that I've ever played, and I remember actually sitting down over a Christmas break and finishing Final Fantasy 2/4, and one of my friends came over and wanting to see the ending to it, and so I played through it, and I had like leveled up all of my characters to kind of. I don't think they were quite to like level 99 or anything like that, but they were absurdly powerful. But that was the kind of gaming that we did a lot, where it was, if we did do single player stuff, it was a lot of trade off, or if it was like an RPG, we would just kind of hang out and talk and play.
See, I did that with my friend for Final Fantasy 3, but then then a month later I didn't like really talk to him that much, and I don't know why. But then he was like, "Hey, I beat the game." And I was like, "What?" So he beat it without me. I didn't get to see the end.
You fucking prick.
What a
Pretty
jerk. Is
And
he on a list now?
no, he's still my friend. But
Is this Drunk Dave or whatever?
no, this is Zach Lefebvre. You
No.
hear this, Zach?
You asshole.
No, he's a good guy. But did you guys ever run into that Final Fantasy 3 bug?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
What?
There
Nope,
is-
I've never played it.
There's a character that has there's a little girl who has a paint ability.
Oh yeah, Ralph.
Like Mario Paint?
Yeah, she does. She has a move where like she paints characters. I forget how it works, but basically, if you used her move too much in the second half of the game, it would just completely like bug out your game. Like one time, I just went back to my game and like all my items were different. I was in a different location. All my stats were screwed up. It was
Are you
completely
sure that
bizarre.
wasn't your friend?
Sounds like it was Zach.
I don't think I ever used her in my party ever.
Yeah, that I don't remember her, but then again, this has been like almost 20 years ago for me, so.
I don't think a lot of people used her, but I remember hearing at the time that it was like a common bug.
I remember you could exploit the shit out of her and make her super strong, but I never used it.
I never played it.
I used Sabin.
Yeah, Saban I used him all the time. He was my main guy.
I didn't really play a Final Fantasy until 7, but when I got my Super Nintendo, when I was like 12 or something, I got Final Fantasy 2 and UN Squadron with it, because I got it off my cousin, like secondhand, and I ended up selling Final Fantasy 2, which I think is like Final Fantasy 4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
2/4.
Yeah, because I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't really enjoy those type of games till I was older. Because, like I
Yeah.
said, I was mostly a multiplayer guy.
Yeah, that was kind of weird for me and like my brother. Those were the games that we gravitated towards those square kind of RPGs, but we never got into like Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest.
Were you guys Super Nintendo guys or Sega guys?
I was Game Boy guys.
I was a Game Boy guy.
I had a Super Nintendo and a Jaguar.
Yeah, I remember, we got the Super Nintendo, I think that first Christmas, and then I think it was the following Christmas, I had one of those uncles who, sometimes he would, kind of hang around and stuff, and, he was pretty cool at the time, and I remember him, taking me and my younger brother to Toys R Us and, kind of saying, you can go up to this amount, but not over, and that was when I remember getting like the Genesis with Sonic in it.
So very quick here. What is your guys' first gaming memory ever that you can recall?
Ever?
Yeah.
Playing Pac-Man in a bar that my dad had brought me to when I was like 4 or younger.
Wow, that's like mine.
You played
both
Pac-Man
at
in a bar?
It was a Pac-Man. What's the sit-down table called?
The
Cocktail table?
the cocktail table.
Yeah, that's my first memory.
Mine was an upright. It was he brought me to the bar because it wasn't actually opened yet, and my dad's friend owned it.
Oh, okay, that's a lot more
Okay.
excusable.
I was gonna
My-
say,
Mine
my
was
dad
that
didn't.
pizza joint.
My dad didn't drink.
for me, mine was, I remember my my grandparents opened up a video store with my mom and my uncle, and they had like a small selection of video games, and I remember seeing this kind of gold looking box and deciding that I wanted to play that and check that out because my grandparents had not a Super Nintendo, a Nintendo at home, and
Wait, your grandparents?
my grandparents
What?
played games. My grandparents loved like Dr.
What?
Mario. My grandmother has played most of the Final Fantasies up through the PlayStation era.
Wow.
But
Is your grandma on Xbox Live calling people noobs?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, she'll say things like, "I pwned me some bitches," and no. But I remember
Get her on the podcast.
I remember loading up the game, and I don't know what the deal was, but I couldn't quite get it to work. Like the controller wasn't working, and I couldn't read. I don't think I could read quite yet some of the stuff that was on the screen, or it was too like oddball for me to see. But it was Zelda, and I remember that seeing the opening screen of Zelda and just sitting there being like kind of mesmerized by it. Even though I think by that time, I know that I had played, other games, but that was the first one that I can recall.
What about you, Kenzo?
My first game, my old man had an Apple II color, and one day he brought home Dig Dug and started playing it, and I was just kind of watching him. And then he asked me to play, and for some reason, that game horrified the shit out of me. Like, piss your
Dig
pants,
Dug?
crying in like inconsolable in a corner.
Wow.
Just like, I don't know what it was. I'm pretty sure it was because just the concept that like these little monsters were chasing you and they could kill you was just freaked out like a 4-year-old in me. And this
Are you still scared of Dig Dug?
kind of that game is whack, man. You got these little aliens crawling all over the place, and they don't follow the same rules that you follow. You have to dig tunnels, but these guys can just like magically go through all that shit. And then like this, especially on this Apple II, the sounds were absolutely atrocious. So it just sounded like synthesized, like screeching at you the entire time.
Oh my god, I had that Apple II version of Dig Dug as well.
And it just I don't know, it sounded like electronic banshees trying to rape me or something. I don't know.
Yep.
The 4-year-old in me was just like inconsolable. I played that game like maybe once or twice.
So it sounds like maybe it was more of the sound that did it.
Well, it was probably everything working in conjunction.
Yeah. Were you also scared, Dakazu?
Not really, but that wasn't my first gaming memory. Mine was playing the Famicom, the Japanese NES. And
what'd you play?
Well, what happened was a friend of the family, we went over to their place to hang out, and they had a Famicom from Japan. And I remember going through the different cartridges they had, and I think my older brother had Super Mario Brothers, and I had Twinbee, but my brother wanted to play Twinbee, so he took that from me and gave me Super Mario Brothers.
Good trade-off.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
You won.
But yeah, so I remember playing Twinbee. I remember playing Super Mario Brothers, and there's this one puzzle game called Tower of Babel, which I haven't been able to remember until they recently did that game as a challenge on Game Center CX. But that was I've always been looking for that game ever since like the internet came out, and I was looking around for like the ROM. I couldn't remember the title.
Is that a Kusoge?
Yeah. No, it's just it's a Kusoge. No, it's not a shitty game. It's actually just a puzzle game, but it was not released here in the States.
Well, besides the Commodores that I had at school, the Commodore 64s, I had a cousin who had Mario and Duck Hunt. That was a popular game at the time.
Oh yeah,
the pack-in with the Nintendo
controller.
The action pack.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Or the actions. What was that called? Was it the action deck or whatever?
My friend had the mat. The big
Yeah.
I had no idea how he got that, because I didn't realize, because I was 7, that there was like different versions of the NES that came with different things.
Yeah,
All
that's
the
the one
controllers
that
were like magic.
I had the normal pack-in.
Yeah, I had the one with the triple that came with Mario, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet on one cart, and then also had the power pad.
Let me ask you this: when you would play that, would you actually run, or would you just use your hands?
I would start out like I was running, and then once I started to lose, then I would drop down to my knees and I would start beating the power pad with my fists.
That's not the way to do it.
You wouldn't just slap them?
I would never use my hands. What you do is you keep your toes on the ground, and then you just hit it with your heels.
Now,
so you're not actually running up and down, but you just stamp your heels down real fast.
I think it'd be easier to just slap it with your hands.
Hand slaps.
I always found it faster with using your heels.
So funny story. So because I think of my extreme reaction to Dig Dug, my parents didn't want me playing video games at all. But I still wanted to play them because like that's what everyone was doing at school. And I begged them for an NES. And one Christmas, we were visiting my uncle, and surprise, completely unknown to my parents, my uncle bought me an NES. Like they didn't know that I was getting this until I unwrapped it. And so like,
Whoa.
I was like,
That's a cool
that was
uncle.
a cool uncle, right? But immediately after, my parents like took him aside and they were like arguing with him in the other room for like a long time. But since I already had the present, they couldn't just take it away from me. So, in order to discourage me from playing the NES, it was a very novel trick actually. They only allowed it to be played on our crappy old black and white TV.
Oh man.
So I played NES games without color, which was extremely difficult and annoying with like games like Tetris 2, which required you to
Or Dr.
yeah.
Mario.
like all those games.
Oh, that'd
my
be impossible.
God.
I played Dr. Mario on a black
I
and white
had
TV.
all these games where like color was essential to like understanding what was going on, and after a couple years, like I just hated my NES, just loathed it because like I couldn't understand, like it was just the most frustrating thing to ever play, and I eventually gave it away.
Oh no.
Right?
Oh man, that's
Tragedy.
depressing.
Are you mad at your parents about that?
Nah, they're good people.
Were you ever mad at them?
Are you still?
No, I'm an adult.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking. Yeah. So I have a question. Did you guys ever read like the different like gaming magazines and
Nintendo Power?
like
Nintendo
not just
Power.
Nintendo Power, EGM, Game Pro.
Nintendo Power and Game Pro.
Yeah.
When I was
remember-
young, it was those two, and then as I went into middle school and high school, I switched over to EGM, and I even had a subscription to EGM too.
Me too. I got a Kung Lao poster from Mortal Kombat 2 with it, and I hung it up, and it was great.
My parents cleared out a whole bunch of stuff since my brother and I left the house because we grew up. But she was, doing a yard sale, garage sale, whatever. And there were tons of old issues of Nintendo Power and EGM, and there were even a few like EGM2s in there.
Oh yeah, I also used to read Tips and Tricks. Do you guys remember Tips and Tricks?
I think I had like a video of that, like that had the professional, U.S. professional gaming people who did that.
Well, this was a magazine, and it would like give you walkthroughs and just like cheat codes and stuff for all
That
the
was a
games.
waste.
Yeah, I remember. I was never really interested in so much in the stuff that I could get, like if a new NES game was coming out or a new Super Nintendo game was coming out, I was always wanting to look at what I couldn't have. So I was like constantly looking at like Neo Geo and just seeing what they had coming out for that stuff. And it was just like that. It was kind of those holy grail items that you'd talk about with your friends. It's like, oh man, it'd be really cool if we could get the money together. The $600 to get a Neo Geo or whatever.
Yeah, I remember looking in the back of the magazines and seeing that. And then there was like the Neo Geo Gold.
Right.
And I never really understood the difference, but all my friends wanted it because it was expensive, probably.
Yeah, probably that's what it was, but
I mean, we knew nothing about it other than the fact that it wasn't really available anywhere.
Right.
So-
Well, we kind of knew that it was arcade graphics at home, but
So, did anyone besides X buy like a console that was not, did not do well?
N64. Burn.
Dreamcast?
oh yeah, I did. Well,
I
would
wouldn't
get,
count the Dreamcast or N64.
Jaguar
but,
lasted longer than the Dreamcast.
How about Game Boy Micro?
Huh?
No,
Game Boy
was
that,
the Game
Micro-
Boy.
That was just
That
the
was
Game Boy.
just-
That was
that
a
was just being
version of the Game
stupid.
Boy.
That was being stupid. I
It
regret
was
it.
cool.
No,
looking.
it really was.
let's
It
talk
was
about
cool.
CDI.
We
No.
had a CDI. We
Oh,
got all sorts of
shit.
stuff.
I remember watching CDI infomercials. Those things
Yeah.
were so bad.
Well, it was the one part that I remember of that was that they would be going through all these things, and then they'd get to the what was it, voyeur or whatever, and they're it sounds kind of racy, and then the narrator would come on and say, "It's not for kids, Mike."
I bought a Wii.
I also have a Wii.
I was a big PC gamer in my youth.
I didn't get a PC until I was 16 or
I was
17.
big on PCs.
I was the opposite. I had a PC but not a console, so I'd buy a lot of PC gamer magazines and play a lot of demo discs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one. We had a PC, but it wasn't the greatest. But I remember playing stuff like X-Wing, X-Wing versus TIE.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
So would you actually play it online?
No, I could no.
I did.
I didn't so much because it was back then. It was kind of hard to find people to play on. Some of
Okay,
those.
so
Me and my friends all bought a copy and played on our modems, and that worked
Awesome.
terribly.
did you guys
Well,
did
Go
you
on.
guys have like local like software fairs where just like in some gymnasium
No.
like a bunch of like vendors would get together? It'd be kind of like a Comic Con but for like software and a lot smaller.
What is
No.
this?
No,
West
no.
I don't
Coast
know. We
thing?
had those where I was growing up, and I would go there every once in a while.
Well, but you're from the Bay Area. right?
I grew up in the Central Valley, but we had one in like our hometown, and it would be like you could buy basically like pirated software on like floppy disks for like a couple bucks, and it was the greatest thing ever. Like that was how I gamed as a kid because I could actually play my PC in color as opposed to my NES.
Right.
So I would get like some like a shareware like Star Trek game for like 50 cents, or like a ripped copy of like SimCity for like $5. So awesome.
I used to download demos off the BBSs and play Quake.
Yeah, that took too long.
A lot of the old consoles actually had like online network play or network something.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they're all
but it
bullshit.
never really took off here.
Well, like I think it was the Atari had a thing where you could download games to it, but then as soon as you turned off the console, they were gone.
Well, wasn't that kind of the point of like the Famicom disk system? Was you would go and you would
I have no
go
idea.
to
Go to
store.
vendors.
Well, yeah, I have no clue. Yeah, you had to go to
There
vendors,
was a
but you could get
Famicom
stuff.
modem.
Did you guys have X-Band?
Which one was that?
X-Band is a thing for the Super Nintendo and Genesis that allowed online play for like
I
Mortal
thought
No,
that was
Kombat
who
2.
buys those
I
things?
thought that was the Satellaview.
I had a friend with a Sega and the Sega Channel. I was jealous.
Oh,
Oh shit.
Sega
That's-
Channel.
yeah, that
Could
was like
play
a
games
cable
off his
thing.
TV. It was crazy.
No, my first console online stuff was SegaNet.
Yeah,
Dreamcast.
mine too.
I think the first time I really did anything like that, it was Xbox
I
era.
played plenty of PC games online. We used to play like the original Warcraft over modem, and I would one time I did that with a friend who lived in the next town over, so it was technically a long distance call to call him. So we
Oh,
played for
shit.
like a couple
So that was
hours.
super
Yeah,
expensive.
I got chewed out for that one because I didn't even understand what was happening.
That's funny.
Yeah, my first online game was Quake 3 on the Dreamcast. Over, dial-up, and playing a first-person shooter with that controller wasn't exactly great.
You didn't get the keyboard?
No.
But no, I didn't. I mean, I had the keyboard but no mouse. But
Man.
it would be funny playing over dial-up because then your parents would pick up the phone to make a phone call.
Yeah.
And then,
And drop it.
yeah, they start pushing buttons and then you connection lost.
That happened to me all the time.
Yeah, we actually had it to where we had since my dad worked for the phone company, we could get a second line really cheap, so that's what we did. And
Oh, look
used
at
that
you
for
with your
dial-up.
second
I
phone
know.
line,
I know.
Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah. Well, my mom also ran a small business out of the home, so used it for fax.
Yeah, that was
I didn't play online till the 360.
Really?
Yep.
No PS2 or Xbox
Wow.
or anything?
Well, it's because I was a Mac user very recently, like the
Oh.
last 5 years.
I'm sorry.
So I didn't
Hey,
get to
wait
play
a
any
second.
PC games.
Well, there was no real games
what?
Nope.
on, Apple, on Macs.
Well, there were, but like they weren't really online. I didn't
I mean,
know
there
how to
were-
do that.
They weren't. There's definitely not as much support on Macs.
I think that's kind of changing though, but that's a different discussion for a different time.
Well,
I
well,
was,
basically until Xbox Live came out, and I didn't have an original Xbox. I got the 360 because I had finished college. A lot of my friends had moved away to keep in touch and still play games with them. I got Xbox Live, and that's when I started playing online.
And did it hook you right away?
Yeah, it was great.
That is pretty good.
I was pretty lucky to have a PC so early, but I finally got my own console in the mid 90s when I had a choice between the 64 and the PlayStation
And
1.
you chose 64.
What'd you get?
Right?
I chose the
All
PlayStation, even though all my friends had
You
the
chose
You
64.
chose wisely.
I
You made
I
the
took
right.
choice.
You made the right call.
And I worked at Blockbuster at the time, so I basically played every
Nice.
PS1 game.
Okay, so you know what I know about what it's like working in a video store when you have like games at home that you can play and shit like that.
Yes.
because my parents ran their own video store for a number of years, and I worked there for about 10 years. So I remember going from, being able to take home like NES games and Genesis, Super Nintendo games, and then, all the way up to, I think when we closed down, it was Xbox One, PS2, and GameCube.
When I was trying to decide between the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation, I was really wanting the Nintendo 64 because I loved my Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a store that opened up. This was after I moved to Georgia, so I was 13 or 14. And there was a store that opened up, and it was called Incredible Universe. And they would just let you go in and you would say, I'm thinking about buying this. Can I try it? And so I got to try out all the PlayStation games that were out at the time. So like
Awesome.
Tekken 2, Twisted Metal 2, Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, all that stuff. And that made me decide to get a PlayStation instead. And I think I chose wisely.
That was
I
a
chose
great
very,
choice.
very wrong there.
You did? You got
Yeah.
the Nintendo 64?
So I was like at a
GoldenEye.
sleepover or something, and we discovered GoldenEye there, and we literally played GoldenEye for like 8 hours straight, and it was the greatest thing ever, right? It was so much fun. But so then that convinced me into buying an N64, and I eventually got a PlayStation because of, coincidentally enough, the same awesome uncle. But at the time I got it, I was like, what the fuck is this? This is a PlayStation, like my Nintendo. And so I actually hated the shit. I hated my PlayStation for fanboy
What?
reasons, but it turned out to be like the best console I ever owned.
And then when did you actually start giving it a
I
chance
gave it a
of
chance
playing
pretty
it?
early because I bought Final Fantasy VII when it first came out.
And you were like, oh wait,
I was like,
Final
I'm
Fantasy.
having so much fun with this. I'm conflicted. What is going on here? Oh my,
I had bad memories of Final Fantasy VII growing up.
your memory card died or something, right?
Yes. First of all, I had to go through almost 3 copies of Final Fantasy VII because the discs got scratched on
That's
the
your
final
fault.
disc.
Oh,
So
man.
you had to buy it 5
That's
times.
terrible.
I had to buy a second copy, and then that one got messed up, and then I had to get a used one from. I had to borrow a friend's copy, and then at the final dungeon, my memory card eroded,
Dude, did you,
and I was like, "Fuck Final
you live
Fantasy
in like
forever."
a zoo or something? How do you ruin so much stuff?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's terrible.
It just sucked. It just totally. I've never been able to really get back into RPGs ever since.
That's a shame.
I always wondered that when I worked at a store. How do people get the disc so scratched and
Seriously.
screwed up?
Yeah, I always
I'm
wondered
ge-
that.
I'm guessing it's little kids just throwing them around.
As for
Or-
zombies?
He's not a little kid.
Or people are jerks with sandpaper.
I remember when we would get stuff in, and I'd be there the first time it would get rented out, and it depended on who it was, I'd cringe. And
So-
then, even some of them that I would expect it to come back in good working order, sometimes it didn't.
So kind of similar to Dakazu's cursed Final Fantasy VII. My, I guess, Parasite Eve, I guess you could say
What a good
cursed.
game. What a good game.
Because I let my friend borrow it, and
Which
then
is always a bad idea.
and then he was bringing it back, and he left it on his desk at school, and he went to ask the teacher or something. They came back, and it was gone. Someone took it.
Oh, snaps.
And then my other friend bought the game, and his copy was also stolen. So everybody
my
I know
God.
that had
That's
that
bad
game
luck.
had it stolen. I think I have the strategy guide for that game still somewhere.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember kind of, bad decisions in that kind of vein, when I was working at the store for my parents, when we stopped renting out our Super Nintendo games, this was in starting to get towards the late 90s, but my mom knew, because my brother and I have been into, a lot of these games for a long time. She knew that some of these games were going to be, a little bit more valuable because they're rare or whatever, so she pulled off Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, both of the final Super Nintendo
What a
Final
mom.
Fantasies. Yeah, I know. So, but anyway, one of the other employees was working one day, and we only had a few left out for sale because we were just kind of trying to liquidate the stock. And some kid asked, what else do you have anything else other than these? And she sees these 4 games sitting there, set out behind the counter, and sold them for $7 a
douche.
piece or something.
$7.
Mm.
So
That
yeah,
was
some
Chris
kid out
Kohler.
there. Yeah, exactly. Chris Kohler came through my hometown and bought everything.
All right, so that's a downer of a story.
I had
Wait, what?
I had Vagrant Story, and I let my friend borrow it, and then I just never got it back from him. And I guess that game ended up being worth a lot. You never played Vagrant Story?
I
Yeah,
love
I have
Vagrant
it,
Story.
and I never played it because I
one of
lent
the
it out
few
to
I
a friend, and when I got it back, I was like, I would rather play something else.
Yeah, it was right at the end of the PlayStation generation and moving on to the PlayStation 2. So, and I think I got other games like at the same time as that one, so I ended up playing the other ones more
Front
anyway.
Mission 3 came out at like a little bit before that, and I was all about that game.
God, there was this like survival horror game called I think it was called Galarians. Anyone play that? I think that's what I got at the same time.
Forgetful game is
Galaxians?
forgetful. All right,
No.
we're getting messages to like wrap this up. So
Yeah, we need to wrap up. So, gaming
Galaxians.
was fun when we were kids.
Of course
Well,
it was.
Unless you go to the arcade.
Yeah, we're out of time. I don't think I have enough time to tell that.
Oh, I've got good arcade stories.
We should have an
Maybe
arcade
some other
section.
We
in
can
the
obviously
future.
ramble about this for a long time, so yeah, we can always get another group of people together or the same group, and we can ramble more about childhood gaming stuff.
Yeah, or just we'll talk about
wrap it
arcades
up.
later
Let's
probably.
go home.
Okay, I guess we're done.
Okay, and we're back to finish up our discussion on the Netflix original series Lilyhammer, which was only 8 episodes long, and all of that good stuff. But who's with me?
Who are you?
I am Totoro.
I'm Dakazu.
Kevin EP3.
Mr. X.
So let's go through the 7th episode initially before we get into the 8th episode and kind of finishing with maybe overall thoughts. So what happened in the 7th episode?
The kid got a suit.
Oh, that's right. The National Day.
Yes. And he gave his little speech at the end.
No, wait, that was the 8th episode, wasn't it?
No, that was the 7th.
Yeah, it was 7th. And then at the end, the kid was kidnapped. And then the whole other episode is about the kid.
Okay, that's right. So
Yeah, basically, at the beginning of the episode, Johnny knows that he knows the presence of like the guys who are there to they're from the mob. They're after him. They figured out where he's been relocated.
Yeah, and he sends the bikers to capture them. Didn't he say there was like a $10,000 reward for them?
Yeah,
something like that.
10 for each, I think. Yeah, 10,000 for each.
Right. Yeah, so then they bring 2 Americans to him, only it was the wrong 2. And that was a pretty funny scene.
And with the gay couple locked up in the back of the car.
with
Yep.
pink underwear. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, we should bring that up later because in the next episode something else happens. But
Yeah.
for this episode, yeah. What do we call him? The barkeep guy, the guy who runs the bar for Johnny.
Torgear.
Torgear, his right hand man. Yeah, Torgear.
Oh yeah, there was some things that happened with him.
Oh yeah, and the guy's hot mom.
Yeah.
In the last episode, the one of the biker guys, the guys that they at the very beginning, that they sent down a ski ramp, he gets beat up at the end of the last episode because he was living in Johnny's old place.
And the mob that came in assumed that he was Johnny because he was living there.
Right.
Or Frankie boy.
So he's in the hospital, and then his mom and like Johnny is there with Torgear, and like the mom comes in, and the mom is like, I guess she's supposed to be a MILF.
I guess.
If you insist.
Are we in agreement that she's not that attractive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it.
Maybe in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's an ex-model or something, ex-nude model. So they hang up a picture of her.
Yeah, and Johnny tells him to take it down, but then the biker says, give her a fruit basket, but that stays. And then he brought her a fruit basket.
And then things happen.
Fruit basket.
Yeah. Well, and then, like earlier in the episode, Torgeir is talking about how he didn't think the second Sex and the City movie was so bad.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What?
During the poker game.
Everyone's just looking at him like, what the hell, man?
That was a really random joke, too. He just threw that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they were watching it when he went over to the dude's mom's house.
Yeah.
And then he got some.
He did.
That was kind of, for me, it was just random that it worked out that way, that, you know, she was watching Sex and the City when he went over there, and
he's such a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And then that comes back next episode.
Well, but mainly it comes back. This entire thing with Torgeir and like the biker dude's mom comes back at the end of the episode, because basically the Americans find out where Johnny is. And wait a minute. Earlier in the episode, Johnny tracks down the gangsters, right? And they're staying at some kind of lodge.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't track him down.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the next
Torgeir's
episode?
like idiot brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That I thought that was good. How like the guy they make out to be the idiot like finds
Stumbles.
out where they are, and no one like gets in contact with them in a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're up at this cabin, and then, like, in the area next to where their cabin is, there's this group of students from Lillehammer High, and they're recently graduated, and it's just this bunch of girls, and they're kind of partying and running around naked around this lake and shit.
Yeah, and they ask the one of the mobster guys to take a photo as proof. And then they start partying with him.
and this leads to the American guys getting picked up by the police.
Yeah, because they pass out drunk in the back of a car.
And so the police chief woman, she wants to question them because like they had Gear's fanny pack.
Yeah, that's right. So she was started to question them, and then the chief or whatever came in and sent them free, even though...
Why is between this episode and the last episode, why is the police chief, he's an idiot?
He is. I'm guessing that he's just still mad about the race or something.
Right. Yeah,
And
that
the
probably
whole-
has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
whole
so
terrorist
obvious.
thing.
Because even after they let him go, the really smug mobster, the nephew of the head guy, he's all
Yeah.
like, I hope good luck with your wannabe Elvis. I hope you find the guy.
Yeah, and then she freaked out and said, "How do you know that he liked Elvis?"
But they get
Yeah.
away anyway.
With the police chief, though, he jumped out of a window and broke his leg
No, that
trying to
was-
catch them.
No,
No,
that was
different guy.
Hans. That was Hans, the assistant.
Come in. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was the same guy.
No, that was a different guy. That was the
Yeah,
white-headed
different
guy. That she's on patrol with and is talking to the whole time at the station.
I don't know about that.
Definitely a different guy.
I-
the guy that
It's
jumped out
definitely
is
different.
way older.
Yeah, while I will admit that
Like
there
you
were
guys
people
were right
living with
last
gear.
week.
Yeah, I was going to say, while I admit that there were people who were obviously living with gear, I'm almost positive that this was not the same guy. Which that was one of the really cool things about that was, I remember looking at the names on the home and seeing Aaron with one A and Lisa Marie, because it was Elvis Aaron Presley and his daughter was obviously Lisa Marie. So even to that point, he was that big of a fan.
Yeah, but that sign doesn't really prove that there was someone living with him. It just means that he liked Elvis, so he put up that sign.
I don't know. I think I can go with Kevin on this one.
No one was shown.
But that's a good point. No one is shown, and it's never brought up. So this is speculation, I guess.
I mean, even there was a funeral, and they never mentioned any of his family or anything.
That's very true.
It looked like those names were scratched out, maybe they left after he got fired or whatever, or maybe he became so
Who knows?
obsessed
Because
with
they
Johnny.
never went into it.
Yeah, which seemed like a real missed opportunity, but that's me.
Well,
Yeah.
what happens is the American mobsters get away from the police. They track down Johnny at this National Day celebration, and the problem is that the police chief tries to get a hold of Johnny, but his phone is off.
Well, the sheriff or whatever her name is, not the one in charge. Yeah, she calls and he doesn't answer.
So she gets hold of Torgeir.
Yes, and then the bouncer biker guy that got beat up comes.
Yeah, and then there's this big fight because Torgear
Well,
left the
that
picture
part
up,
was hilarious. Yeah,
and then but he doesn't realize he's talking about the picture, so he admits to the fact that he slept with his mom, and then then the biker dude throws Torgear's face into like
Porridge.
porridge.
the hot porridge.
It wasn't too hot though.
Yeah, he didn't have like welts or shit on his face afterwards.
His face was just a little red,
Right.
but that was a pretty funny scene.
But obviously, people were wondering, were you guys wondering, like, what is this leading up to with Torgear, boning the mom? And when that moment happened, I was like, okay, I see.
Well, I knew there would be some confrontation about it. There just
had to be. Yeah.
I was a little surprised it happened so quick though. But there was only 2 episodes left, or 1 episode left after that.
And I guess the only other thing kind of in the National Day celebration, well, the first thing was that Jonas, Sigrid's son, didn't want to wear the folk outfit.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the scene in A Christmas Story when, he wears the pink bunny suit, and you can tell the dad is just feeling horrible for him. It's like, do you want to take that off? Do you not want to wear that? And he lets him take it off, and
Yeah.
Johnny takes him down into the village shops to get a real suit.
And he does, and then he teaches him how to play poker. And then
Not just play poker, dominate poker.
well, against the other guy.
Torgear.
Yeah. That was pretty funny how he just lost all his money to him.
Well, it's Johnny admits towards the end of the episode when Torgear is running around and trying to warn him. He's like, "What an idiot!"
Well, yeah, I mean, in the next episode, he really shows how stupid he is.
Mm-hmm.
Should we move on to the next episode?
Oh, well, what about the pervert guy?
Yeah, I was about to say the guy who works at the.
Wasn't that the... Oh, that's right. Yeah, the reason why Johnny was watching the kid was because the kid's mom was with that guy at the cabin. There was like some sort of retreat for all the immigrants.
What was up with the incinerator toilet?
I've
never seen that before.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
There was a scene where he was explaining like how to use the incinerator toilet. And basically, like it burns your poop.
Yeah, he said you have to go into a coffee filter, something like that, and then wrap it up.
Then you hit the button, and then like flame shoots out of it.
Oh, and he couldn't figure out why it wasn't working at first. So the Muslim gentleman from the beginning of the series, when he wouldn't shake, or his wife wouldn't shake. What's the guy's name?
He wouldn't shake.
He would
shake.
Yeah.
He wouldn't shake Sigurd's hand, and then Johnny had a big,
right.
Fight with him. But they kind of made up later.
Yeah, and that all turned out, fine, because Johnny's, even in the world of mobsters, he's still kind of, mostly sane as far as, dealing with people. Obviously he puts Jonas in, like, inappropriate situations, but...
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, he knows how to smooth things over with people.
Yeah, but the Muslim gentleman was not in, like, the series until... He hasn't come back till now. And basically what happens is they're at the retreat, and you think, like, the pervert guy kind of tries to have a moment with Sigrid, but that doesn't really pan out.
Yeah, and then he starts talking about Johnny and saying, that's some boyfriend you have there. Why don't you ask him how the bullet holes got in that door?
Yeah, and then Sigrid confronts them, and then at the National Day, and then Johnny's giving like the pervert the cold stare, and the pervert like comes up with like some bullshit excuse.
About a moose hunt?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh,
So
we're best friends.
Yeah, so the pervert guy, screwed up, but he fixed the situation, so Johnny gives him back his blackmail pictures that he has of the pervert guy.
Right.
Yeah, and then he ends up losing them.
Well, what happens
Two
is
of them.
The Americans take a shot at Johnny, and they miss because the college girls bus goes by and beeps the horn, screws up the guy's shot.
Right.
They shoot a toasting glass out of the pervert guy's hand, and
then he drops the pictures.
Yeah, exactly. He drops all the pictures on the ground, and he's trying
and
to
he gets them all back, except for 2.
Yeah, and which the Muslim gentleman
Yeah, he finds them.
takes.
And then he takes pictures of them and sends them to everyone.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like especially all the people at NAV, the unemployment and job seeking.
Right, and so at the very end of the episode, the mobster guys are they're trying to get away, and then you see the kid, so they grab the kid and they kidnap Jonas, and that's the
Yep,
end
and
of the episode.
that's the end.
Well, there's one other thing that I was amused by in the 7th episode that I want to talk about, and that was Jonas's speech.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because Johnny knows that has to do the speech, and he asks Jonas to read it to him, and it's all this good stuff about like tolerance and being thankful for what you have and wanting to help out other people. But then Johnny does an uncredited rewrite and starts talking about how they should be proud to be Norwegian, and they really need to thank their friends across the Atlantic in the USA. Otherwise, they'd be speaking German or be a province of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, that was great. And then he was the only one to clap when he was done giving the speech.
Everyone else looks
everyone
like
was
really
horrified.
awkward.
Yeah, that was such an awkward situation. And watching it, I was like, I really don't like to watch things that are like super awkward and you can tell that something bad is going to come out of this. It really makes me uncomfortable. And I saw that and it was one of those times where I was like, oh my god, no.
It was very waja. You guys remember that word?
No.
Embarrassment by proxy.
Okay, what is that? Is that a Seinfeld?
No, that's from Sean Elliott from GFW Radio.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Okay, so then next episode?
Yeah, episode 8, the final episode. They've kidnapped Jonas. Johnny had found the pin that he gave to him, and they start tracking him down. And one of the first things that I remember happening was that he's in the car with Torgeir, and Torgeir's like, okay, I understand that something's going on here. I'm not getting the whole story. You're asking me to go to war without telling me who the enemy is. What the fuck's the deal? And then Johnny tells him.
Yeah, he tells him he's in the it was in an organization that's hard to leave. Maybe you've heard of it, the CIA.
When he said that, I nearly lost my shit.
It was really funny.
I thought he was going to say, go LCN, La Cosa Nostra, the Mafia. But no, he went completely the opposite direction and went with the CIA.
Yeah, that was great. And then he just believed him.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
It makes so much sense now.
Then didn't he like call him his agent or something?
We started calling him like sir and like other shit too.
And then I think I was just getting dumber and dumber as the series went on.
Well, it got to but there were a few times where he like redeemed himself a little bit, but everything he did in the last couple of episodes was just
dumb.
In the middle of the series, he didn't seem like such a buffoon compared to his brother, but yeah, toward the end, it's like, wow, what a moron.
Well, I guess we'll come to that later with the cop.
Yes.
Right. So yeah.
So then they go to the lawyer's house because they found out that the lawyer's daughter was one of the graduates that was at the camp with the two guys. So they go and talk to her. But the lawyer was just about to sing at some sort of party with their like barbershop quartet
or sextet or
barbershop sextet.
Yeah,
there were 6 of them.
Yeah, that's right. And then just as he was about to sing, Johnny walks up,
interrupts.
Yeah, just start. Oh, that's great. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was good. And then they go to the cabin that the guys are at, but they just missed them.
Yeah, they get away.
Oh, did anyone else like how the daughter said that she had the flu? It's like the same bullshit answer that you would have given your parents if you were drunk. It just works, kind of on both sides of the Atlantic.
I don't know, Totoro, because I never did any illegal drinking.
Totoro, is there something you'd like to say?
So then they go up and they realize that they missed them at the cabin, but one of the guys calls them because he doesn't have any. They went to a public telephone because they don't have any signal.
Yeah.
You're right.
Oh, that reminded me. Are they using their phones from America?
Don't know.
Because that would cost a lot of money.
I don't think
Probably
they care
not.
about money.
There's a mob. They don't give a shit about that.
Oh,
But-
they do.
Well,
I guess the guy did, punch out the guy at the gas station over like $100 worth of gas.
Yeah, but was that because of the money or because he thought he was trying to be cheated?
I think the cheated.
I think it's because that guy's I think it's because that guy's a sociopath and psycho.
Yeah, that
He's
guy
obviously
is
got it.
crazy.
Yeah, he's got some issues. No, I
Yeah,
was
but
just gonna say that you can rent phones at airports when you go to different like countries.
You can also buy prepaid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but then it turned out they were still at the campsite making
Yeah,
the call.
they could hear like a horn or something in the background.
But then they still get away just as Johnny was approaching them.
Mm-hmm. Then they have to cut another deal. Like they call Johnny or like, oh, you can't pull a fast one on us again. Meet us at this truck stop or something. Which turns out to be a gay hangout spot.
Which was kind of funny in and of itself.
Yeah, and that led to the crazy guy being all crazy as usual.
Mm-hmm. Like a car, while they're waiting for Johnny to show up, a car pulls up and, it's a gay guy. He thinks, someone's here for a hookup.
To make the switch.
Yeah, sure, the Switch. That sounds fun. Yeah, let's go with the Switch.
He starts pulling his pants down, so the psycho mobster beats the crap out of him.
And then they kind of realize what's going on. Or
Jonas
the
escapes.
other guys. Yeah, so the kind of the gray, white-haired, salt and peppered kind of guy gets out and is like trying to figure out what the fuck this psycho is doing. Then Jonas slips out, and starts running into the woods. And there's this whole chase scene where he goes into like this troll museum, and
Yeah, it was like
very
a-
fairy tale-esque.
They went to like a theme park or something.
A troll theme park, which looked awesome, by the way.
It had,
Yeah.
That
Didn't it
place
have,
looked
like-
hella fun and beautiful, too.
Didn't it have like Mercedes go-karts? I think I
Yeah.
saw the yeah, that was crazy. And then, well, the go-karts come
Apparently,
back later.
the psycho is definitely afraid of trolls.
Yeah,
Even
which is
fake trolls.
which was completely random and weird.
It's fucking made of plastic.
Well, Johnny shows up, and he shows up with Torgir. They realize something's happening, and they go into the place as well, the theme park. And there's a
Yep.
big chase. They save Jonas.
Well, they're chasing. The guys were chasing Jonas the whole time, but then Johnny shows up and
Mhm.
grabs him and gets him out of there right away. And he gives him to the.
Torgir.
Yeah, they gives him to him,
And
then
they ride away in a go-kart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was great. But then he brings him back to his mom, and the cop is there. And then
Yeah.
he tells the kid, "You better let me talk. We don't want to, give away what was going on." And then he just flat out tells him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so instead of, coming up with something, oh, it was a big misunderstanding, we found him at this, amusement park, he was alone, he got lost, whatever.
No, he says he got grabbed.
Yeah, but he
Right.
could have come up with something else. But instead, he's just like, they got taken by these two foreigners.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, though. He could have come up with a more eloquent and elegant lie instead of flat out telling them, what the fuck was going on.
And this is, I would say, the all-time dumbest thing the character has done. The character is no longer redeemable, really.
Yeah, especially because the police chief was right there. She was like comforting Sigrid.
Well, yeah,
Because during this entire time, Johnny is like trying to dodge Sigrid and get Jonas back before things get out of hand.
yeah.
And,
The cop was standing
yeah.
right next to her. There was
Yeah.
he was
Well-
telling both of them what was going on.
Well, and the thing about that was that Johnny told Sigrid that he went with this girl girl he goes to school with, that they went to school to play games and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And, she gets worried and goes to find him, and she can't find him there. She finds the girl that Johnny said that he was going there with, and, she's like, I haven't seen him all day.
Yeah, all his lies are coming undone, basically.
Yep.
But anyway, Jonas is saved.
Yeah,
And the
and-
monsters are tracking, they're hunting Johnny, and Johnny's chasing them.
Oh yeah, and the whole time, the crazy guy kept shooting at Jonas. And then the other guy said, "Will you stop shooting at the kid?" Every time, like, the kid was turning a corner or something.
Mm-hmm.
So those two
Until
were
the
not
last
getting
time.
along.
Right.
And what happens is the crazy guy and Johnny end up finding each other in the woods.
Well,
And-
before that, the crazy guy and the other guy get in a fight.
Oh yeah,
Because he calls him a fruitcake.
And he
Yeah,
thinks he's like, you say I'm gay, so he beats the crap out of him.
exactly. And then he finds Johnny, and then marches him into the woods. And then
Johnny starts berating him about being gay more, which
Well, but
was
it was
just
about
kind of
his-
weird to me.
it's like he was asking if he was being, well, implying that he was molested by his uncle.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah. You hear rumors.
How I used to put you to bed every night. Yeah, okay.
Rumors about meetings and parks. Yeah.
And he distracts them with that talk, and like knocks the gun away. They get in a fight, but crazy psycho guy gets the gun back. He's about to kill Johnny, and
Robbie, the other mobster guy, shoots the psychopath.
And it had a really weird sound effect for the gun.
yes, it did.
It just sounded off.
Jerry. Yeah, Jerry is the psychopath's name.
And then Johnny says, I always liked you.
I always liked you, Robbie, yeah.
So they decide that they're going to Johnny's gonna give this guy his ring, which the mobster knows
Right.
that like is so dear to him that he would never part with it.
Yeah, as proof that
you know
proof that he was
he-
killed.
Yeah, and say that Jerry, fought and was killed defending the family's honor. So it's not going to be a big deal. They're not going to send
Right.
people back to come looking, and they bury the body. But then the police chief shows up.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, and she's, about to call Hans and, have him come out and arrest them both. And then Johnny, kind of, quick thinking on his feet, as he always is, appeals to her nature and her fondness for Gare.
Yeah. And then he says, justice was served here. Now you can spend all the taxpayers' money bringing us to justice, or you can just be happy that justice was served. That
Right.
we did something that you should have done.
Or would have liked to have done.
And she
However
goes
you
for
want
it.
to look at it.
Yeah, and she just lets him go.
Yeah, so
Yep.
things are pretty much wrapped up, except when he goes back to Sigrid, she's pissed, and she no longer wants anything to do with him.
And
Right.
Her ex-husband, I guess, is there?
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting him to just like knock out the ex-husband.
I'm sure that would have improved his standing with Sigrid so much.
She clearly did not like that guy.
Yeah,
And she really didn't like the fact that he was trying to take control of the situation.
Yeah, so she just sent him inside, and then Johnny said, so that's it? Just like that, it's done? And then she would just close the door.
mm-hmm.
And then at the very end,
Yeah, then the
pedophile man.
with the creepy mustache.
Yeah. So
Not worse for Johnny.
yeah, what happened was throughout the episode, you see the fallout of the pictures being sent to everyone. Basically, was that his boss that was at his party?
Yes.
So his,
Yeah.
Yes.
his boss has to have a meeting with him at his National Day party, and basically says to him, "You have to resign. You have to resign, or you're gonna get fired."
And he
So
said,
he
loses- starts-
and he says that won't work. This job is everything.
But it doesn't matter. He loses his job. He goes to the unemployment line, but that's where he worked. So when people see him, like they're like, "Hey, why do you have a number?" He can't-
Am I meeting with you today?
Yeah, he can't stand that, so he leaves. He goes to Johnny and he begs for a job.
And then Johnny says, well, there's a job as a dishwasher.
I was thinking more management.
Well, you can't just start at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was the scene from the beginning of the series just reversed.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
But Johnny shows sympathy and gives him, tells him like, Torgeir could use some help running stuff.
And then he says that he can get them like $500,000 because they hire immigrants.
Ukrainian dancers.
Yeah. So it seems like he's being set up as his new like lieutenant or number 1 or number 2.
Number 2.
And then they quote Casablanca, which I thought was kind of cheesy.
Well, but it worked for that, I felt.
The Godfather quote would have been better, since there were so many Godfather references throughout the whole series.
Well, I think if they were going to go with, for me, the ultimate one would have been Sigrid closing the door on him, kind of as a mirror of what happened at the end of the first Godfather movie.
Right.
But that's it. The pervert guy now works for him, and then he's no longer with Secret, and that's how the show ends.
Do you think
At least this season.
Do you think there's going to be another season?
It all depends
I don't
how
know.
many viewers they get, I think.
Well, I guess viewers don't really matter since it's Netflix. It's
Well,
they want more subscribers, and I guess if more people are subscribing for the show, which I don't really see people doing, I don't know. I guess they
Well, I
might
think
want it
it's-
just so they can say they have Netflix original series.
Yeah.
right. Well, and they're going to get a really big. I think they're going to wind up getting a real big push here when they eventually start doing new Arrested Development. That will probably bring people in more than anything else.
That and
better.
and House of Cards or whatever it's called, the Kevin Spacey show.
Right.
Well, I as a whole of the series, I enjoyed it, and I would be
Yeah.
willing to watch a second season. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm not sure that I would be quite as down with the second season as maybe you guys are, but
You
it
think
was,
this wrapped up nicely? Like it's done?
I think
it's
I
complete?
think yeah. I feel like if they ended it here, and that may just be how they wrote it. I'm not exactly sure how Norwegian television works. They have a lot of stuff where they do one season, one series.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be another season, but I would probably check it out.
Yeah, I would probably give it a shot, but I would probably do so on a trial basis.
So, guys, I have a final comment from IRL Troll.
Oh yeah, that
was-
guy.
Yeah, he wasn't here this week because he has no voice. But
Allergies.
I asked him if he wanted to give me a comment about the series, and he says it's kind of like Frank is Walter White, except already kind of scummy, and the show creators try even harder to make you not sympathize with him. I can't wait for the next season to see if or how he gets back all the goodwill he has destroyed, or what he does to replace it. I'm sold on this show and can't wait for the next season.
What? Walter White? What? No, he's completely
Yeah,
the opposite.
Yeah, there's no redeeming quality about him.
He started out
I-
as a mobster and then continued being a mobster.
There's not much of an arc there.
And Walter White started out as, just a normal chemistry teacher and then became just a horrible person.
Yeah,
But in the most fantastic way possible.
I'm just reading this as he wrote it to me. But I guess we don't agree with Troll's comment
Troll?
about Walter White.
Troll, I know you're listening. That was pretty dumb.
Well, let's move on. I don't want
Well,
to berate
next-
someone when they're not here to defend themselves.
Right.
It's the
Exactly.
best time to do it.
We can make this conversation completely one-sided. It's going to be awesome.
It's gonna be so good.
Okay.
Uh,
So next week, obviously, since we've finished up the Lilyhammer discussion, we're going to bring the movie box back.
Yes, we are.
And so if you want to participate in that, definitely sign up on the forums. We've already got our first movie up.
Yeah, there's a sign-up
uh,
thread also.
Right. So sign up in there, and then the way that works is that we go through the list. Each week we watch a movie, and then discuss the movie both on the forums and then the thread for that movie, and then also we'll do the same on the podcast as well.
Yeah, everybody that signs up gets to pick a movie, and for your pick, you just PM whatever movie. You just PM that to me, and then I'll make a thread for it. And then if you also want to be on the podcast for that episode for your movie, just PM one of us, and we'll get you in Mumble, make sure your mic is good and everything.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
but for next week, the movie is Red State, which is the Kevin Smith horror movie. Is that what
Yeah.
the genre is? I know nothing about
Yeah.
it, and none of us have seen it, so it seemed like a good pick for us.
I know there's a comedian in it. There's a stand-up comedian that is an actor in the movie. I think he might play a villain. I'm not sure. I just know
Carrot
that
Top?
because
Is it Carrot Top?
he was on one of the
Is it Carrot
podcasts
Top?
I listened to. It is not Carrot Top.
Damn it.
He would be too frightening. Have you seen Carrot Top lately?
Yeah.
Is it Norm Macdonald?
It is not Norm Macdonald.
Damn.
Why
It's
is he
probably-
also super buff?
No. He would kill everybody with his razor-sharp wit.
But
We are also going to start up another series, but not for next week, for the week after. And that is going to be Twin Peaks, because I've never seen it, and neither has Kevin.
And it is a great show.
yeah, Mr. X and I have both seen it, but I know that it's been a couple years for me, and I think it's been a couple years for you too. But we've felt like it would be something good to revisit because that's a series that if you have seen it, I think there is a lot there that can be open for interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that it's like Lost, but so much more bizarre, and there's so much more
better.
and there's so much more that happens.
Oh yeah, I definitely now want to see this to refutate what you just said.
No,
Refutate's not a word.
Exactly.
Oh God. But yeah, we're gonna do that.
If it wasn't for this show, there would be no Lost.
I could get behind that, yeah.
We'll see.
But we're also thinking about maybe splitting off one of these segments into its own podcast. We're not sure which one. If you have any suggestions, let us know.
Yeah, basically, it's gonna be the All Talk podcast itself is gonna be kind of long if we do both Movie Box and Twin Peaks together. So we're probably we're gonna split one off.
One of them is gonna have to be split off.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it'll be a 2.5-hour podcast every week.
That's kind of long, and some
told.
people hate long podcasts.
And other people hate fun.
But anyway, for next week, we're gonna talk about Red State.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it.
All right, well, I think that kind of wraps everything else up. Does anyone else have anything they want to say about anything?
Peanut butter still sucks.
No, oh God.
Dakazu is a communist.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Thanks to Kenzo, Kevin EP3, Ronsu, Rodney, and special guest Tumble for joining us this week. If you enjoyed this podcast, please donate to the official Geekbox mobile server, where we hang out and talk and record the podcast. If you'd like to participate in the podcast, send a PM to either Mr. X, Totoro, or me, Dakazu, at the Geekbox forums at forums.geekbox.net. Make sure to listen to the Geekbox, Comic Conspiracy, and Comedy Button podcast as well. I love you.
I know.
Okay, so the reason that I'm not allowed to microwave pizza rolls anymore is because shortly after I married Mrs. Totoro, I was, how they make those little boxes of like 8 to 15 pizza rolls or whatever?
Oh God.
So,
Yes.
So I opened up that box of pizza rolls, and you can microwave those in the box because it has like the little element underneath them, like the little gray sheet of plastic or what the hell.
Yeah, but aren't you supposed to like rip the top off of it or something?
Yeah, I did that.
Okay.
But I was kind of in a hurry, and I wasn't paying quite as much attention as I would normally pay when I was doing something.
Things come in a bag in the
No.
box?
Well, no.
Okay.
You can either get them in the bog or in the bog, in the bags,
In the
or
bog?
in the bags. Box,
In the bog of eternal
bag.
stench?
Yeah, the bog of eternal stench. So you can either get them in the bag or the box. But I had these in the box. So I read, cook, 8 to 9 pizza rolls, 2.5 minutes. But I read that as cooked 2.5 pizza rolls, like 8 to 9 minutes. So I cooked those pizza rolls for 8 to 9 minutes.
And did they come out as like rocks?
Cinder. They were cinder.
Did you still eat them?
No, I didn't eat them. No, they were.
Did you try
So-
giving them to your dog, and then your dog just looked at you like you were trying to poison it?
No, my dog's not that old. We've
So in
only
other
had
words,
her
you
about
created
the
a
past
pizza whistle.
That
And
is
that's
the origin of pizza whistles?
I think we just came up with the origin of pizza whistles. Thank you, Kenzo.
So on the same note, basically Jen was making pizza pops or pizza pockets.
Pizza
I think,
like
Pops?
Hot Pockets.
They're called
Yeah,
Pizza
yeah.
Pops in Canada.
I think they're Pillsbury made.
That sounds like a pizza-flavored popsicle.
It's basically a dough thing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
like a
good.
Hot Pocket.
It's not
Hot Pockets.
It's not delivery. It's not DiGiorno. It's Delicio.
That's a thing.
From Canada.
Anyway,
So so on the instructions it says to put them in for 3 minutes or something.
Okay. You read
So-
30 minutes.
Yeah, she totally typed 30 minutes.
Oh my god, you're kidding me.
And
Oh
abandoned
shit.
the microwave.
For 30 minutes?
Yeah, so you can imagine when she returned. It was like black smoke plumes were full of... So the whole kitchen was full of black smoke, and it apparently like smelled like burning.
Did it catch
For the
on
next-
fire?
It
couple
smells like
years.
burning.
Was like the microwave ruined, basically?
I don't think the microwave was ever the same again.
You scarred it for life?
Did she also run with scissors?
I'm sure she did.
Drove without a seatbelt?
Funny story.
Well, I have a sort of similar story. It wasn't me, it was my brother. Like a long time ago, he was making brownies from a box of brownie mix. Only it came with 2 like bags, and he was making both of them. And the directions on the
He
He
really
really
wanted brownies.
yes, and the box directions were actually for both bags, but he didn't know that, so he doubled
he
the
doubled it?
ingredients, but he wasn't
my God.
supposed to.
Oh,
So, can you imagine eating brownies that had double the amount of oil?
Brownie
Oh.
soup.
It was no, they came out as brownies. It's just they tasted horrible. It was like eating pure vegetable oil.
That's disappointing.
It was
Oh man,
gross.
I've got a similar story. So one time I was cooking food, and then I was looking at the directions on the back, and then I followed them to the letter, and the food came out perfectly because I'm not a bumbling travesty of a man.
That's a terrible story.
That is not
not
interesting at all.
That's what I was gonna say.
One time I burnt macaroni and cheese.
How in the fuck do you burn macaroni and cheese?
Well,
I mean,
you start
craft dinner.
Yeah.
boiling
We would have
the water and the noodles, and then you walk away and you forget that you're making it, and then you come back and all the water is boiled out of it, and the
Oh.
noodles are just burning.
Did that ruin your pan?
No, it ruined them.
Oh.
The noodles, obviously.
You didn't eat them, did you?
So in other words,
I
you ruined
tried.
spaghetti.
Are you
No,
Ryan
You
Scott?
messed up making spaghetti.
no, I can make spaghetti all the time.
But this is the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
I don't add the sauce to the noodles before the noodles are done in the pan boiling.
You still ruined spaghetti. Like these are
It was macaroni and cheese.
this is pasta and and you ruined it somehow.
There's only 2 steps.
3.
Can you put water on to boil? Can you take the water off in an appropriate amount of time?
So you've never forgot you were doing something?
No.
I think you have.
I forgot we were recording right now. What the fuck, man?
What about Dakazu? Do you have any
Mhm.
stories?
About burning things and cooking in
Or
general.
just
No,
ruining food in some way?
not really.
So you're Mr. Perfect?
Well,
You
You're a
and Kenzo?
professional wrestler?
The wrestler?
well, my mom runs a Japanese restaurant by herself, so she taught me a bunch of cooking stuff. And my
Oh.
wife really hasn't done anything like crazy bad, so I don't really have any stories. I'm boring.
I remember when I was little, like 7 years old or so, I was trying to make scrambled eggs, and I couldn't figure out why the stove wasn't, heating up the eggs, and it was because I was putting it all the way, because I thought turning the dial all the way over would be high, but that was turning it to low.
There was one time that I was making pancakes and I forgot to put in. We didn't have like the just add water mix, but it was like add water, eggs, and all this other stuff, and I forgot to add eggs, and it was not that good.
That sounds like the brownies.
Have you
Well-
ever had cereal with chocolate milk?
No, but that could be good depending on the cereal.
That's awesome.
What about macaroni and cheese with eggnog instead of milk?
I'm
That
not a
sounds
big fan
gross.
of. I'm not a big fan of eggnog.
I just made that up. I've never done it.
Yeah,
Eggnog's great.
sure. I believe it.
It's not like one could accidentally grab a thing that looks like milk out of the fridge and start pouring it and then say, "Oh no."
Oh no, what am I gonna do now?
That's impossible. It could not happen.
I'd eat it.
Would you?
Sounds good.
Eggnog?
Tastes like Christmas.
What is wrong with you
Christmas.
cartoon people?